Band groupies that had sex with their idols, how did it affect the way you saw them afterwards? Not sex. But my mum was kissed by David Bowie at a concert in the UK in the 70s. When he left, everyone in the crowd started trying to kiss her, because his lips had just been on hers. She said it was a very sweet kiss. Went to college. With a lady that drunkenly slept with Gilbert Gottfried back in '91. During spring break. Bet he made the most heinous sound when he cummed. Just thinking about it makes my skin crawl. My ex-girlfriend's friend slept with Yandel, Puerto Rican singer, right after a local performance. Ex said right after the show he just pointed to her friend to come inside the bus from where they were standing, and she walked right in without even thinking twice. Ex waited for about 15 to 20 minutes before she came out smiling from ear to ear detailing how it went. Weird. But at least she wasn't underaged, so there's that. A friend of mine had sex with Lil Pump, he gave her chlamydia. Shocking from a dude called Lil Pump. Short for Lilliam Pumpernickel. I know a gal who claimed to have had sex with Stevie Ray Vaughan. Afterwards she was kinda disappointed that he wasn't grateful because he was so homely that he should have appreciated a pretty girl's attentions. No, you're thinking of Steamy Ray Vaughan. A friend of mine had sex with Christopher Mintz-Plasse, aka McLovin. They still text and apparently he's a super sweet guy. I knew a guy who claims to have gone to the same high school as him. He said he came to school telling everyone he was going to be in a big movie and they were like yeah okay, and then Superbad came out LMAO. A friend's mum told me in the early 2000s she slept with the lead singer of a band she loved in the 80s when she was a teenager. She never specified the band, but she was big into hair metal, so it's gonna be someone like Rat or Poison. She said she was expecting a wild night, but what she got was an intensely passionate lovemaking session followed by hours of philosophical talk. Lead singer man spoke of how excess became boring in the 80s, that once you can have anything you lose interest in it. He said he was well aware that the band were barely living off past successes in a genre that was seen as uncool pre-Steel Panther revival at this time. Friend's mum said she can't see him as the hypercool sexy frontman anymore, that she knows him as a human being and his dreams and fears and experiences. She also says every now and then she wonders if he was like that with every girl, or just her. Not a groupie. I'm also a guy. When I was 18 I dated a 17-year-old female singer who was a local celebrity. Her claim to fame was her label sold the rights to a song she wrote and recorded to another female who made it into an international club hit a year later. She also had a hit of her own which was popular in the club scene on the West Coast. Anyways, she liked anal. In fact she preferred it over vaginal sex. All these years later and now she's a Christian singer, and whenever I come across her videos on YouTube singing about Christ, I remember how I used her ass until the shit came out in my 1987 Isuzu Trooper while parked behind Sears back in the day. I do love a good wholesome story. My mate's girlfriend had sex with Justin Bieber while he was on tour in New Zealand. Justin's minders confiscated her phone before anything went down. My friend then broke up with her. I knew a girl that slept with Pitbull probably 10 years ago. She said he never took his shades off, even when they had sex. I found out recently that while my mother was a cocktail waitress in Vegas she slept with Chris from NSYNC. From what I understand though he was super nice and even left a voicemail on her phone for myself and my younger brother since we were huge fans and had just seen them the night before. So your mom told you a cocktail. Friend of mine had sex with Redfoo from LMFAO. He played his own music during, and sang along to I'm in Miami, bitch while inside her, changing the lyrics to I'm in your pussy, bitch. Sex and a free lyrical masterclass. Sounds like the perfect night. My sister's friend Steve Aoki in college. She said she remembers his long hair tickling her chest while he was on top of her LMAO. The girl I lost my virginity to the lead singer of LMFAO for some coke. She said she just wanted some coke. Lead singer? It's two dudes. Yep. Had a friend who went to a concert way back in the day with her friend Jessa. She was sending me pics the whole time and they said they fangirled so hard and made it backstage. Jessa ended up marrying, then divorcing, Randy Houser. And apparently he had to file a restraining order against her. I never heard of this guy until your post. Info from Wikipedia. So interest led me to investigate further, and the restraining order was so Randy could go on a vacation they had planned together alone. I know a guy who had sex with Eartha Kitt in an airplane bathroom. Not exactly the same. But my ex dated a girl who got called back at a festival to meet Flying Lotus. She said she was excited to get to meet him at first, but then he just immediately started laying on sexual advances that made her uncomfortable. My friend's restaurant gets celebrities and athletes and such often, and Bieber has been known to come in a few times. One of the hostess girls went back to his hotel with him and said she was very disappointed. Girl, we need details. He cried and said he misses Selena. A girl I know banged Aaron Carter after a meet and greet. He is going through a tough time and I don't think they have met since, but I believe they still text sometimes. She still thinks he's great. It fulfilled her childhood dream to meet him and sleep with him. I had a friend that was singled out after a Prince concert by his security. They told her that Prince would like her company at his hotel. She grabs one of our other friends to go with her. Maybe as backup or maybe as a witness to the amazing things that are about to happen. Turns out when she gets to the room where all the security and crew or Prince had no intention of hanging out with her, and then it became obvious that it was the security guard that liked her. She's super bummed. Best part about it was the friend she brought along ended up sleeping with the security guard. A lady friend of mine from Minneapolis ran into Prince in about '88 or '89. She was at a mall in a ladies' clothing store and she looks up from the circular rack to see Prince standing on the other side. Without thinking, she says, "Damn, you are short." He said, "Shut up, bitch," and walked away. I know two different girls who Tiesto regularly. He would fly them out to Vegas and Miami on rotation. Guy was in his 40s, flying out 18 to 20-year-olds. They liked traveling and he would fly their friends out too, so they had company. One of them didn't really see him as an idol, more as a free vacation every so often. Oh, she paid for it. I found that Susan Boyle is still a generous, yet humble person with a beautiful soul. A friend of a friend who was obsessed with Tim Burton, so she sent him a picture of herself naked, along with her address. An arrangement was made. Burton showed up, calling himself her dream lover and saying that none of this was really happening. They had sex, and he kept up the charade of not really being there all the way until he left. Her obsession was cured. A friend of mine blew Ludacris. Her and 3 others saw him on the street and hollered at him. They went back to his hotel and he and my friend went into the bedroom and they performed oral on each other. While they waited in the other room for them to finish, my other friend stole their weed. It was not me, but within my sphere a girl hooked up with John Mayer like 10 years ago and he pissed on her afterwards. I bet Mayer doesn't even have a piss kink. I have been told by a girl who knows that Leo DiCaprio wears headphones when he groupies. I can't imagine it makes a girl feel very good about herself afterwards. I have never had sex with a celebrity, but my dad's cousin, my second cousin, was apparently impregnated by Charles Manson, meaning my second cousin once removed as Charles Manson's son. I'm excited to share this in another thread someday where it won't get buried. I have a few friends who caught herpes this way. They all said it was worth it. Ah yes, herpes. The perpetual autograph. It's in Braille, but I can still read it. Girl on my dorm floor uni got herpes from Steve Aoki. I now think that Steve Aoki has herpes and I didn't before. A chick I dated in high school later dated the drummer from Offspring. Here's the good part, she didn't even know who Offspring was. Not me, but a friend of mine banged Vil Valo of him. She went to the tour bus crowd and waited for him to get out of the venue. And as he was walking up, she goes, "Vil, me. I'm 18. He gave her a look, like the thought was crossing his mind, and then he shook his head and got on the bus. Well, fast forward 2 years later, same friend tries the same stunt to him. He recognized her as the 18-year-old, and, well, she still has his number. I know a girl who hooked up with a member of Big Time Rush. I've also met him numerous times and honestly I still think he's hot, plus he's just a really nice dude, so I'd say my opinion of him never really changed. My ex-girlfriend and her friend ran into Chief Keef and YG in LA before we dated. She said YG was hitting on her, but he was just unbearably stupid. They invited them over, but my ex didn't go. Her friend ended up going and slept with Chief Keef. She was on top of him and yelled, "Oh my god, I can't believe I'm Chief Keef." He just puts his hand over her mouth and calmly says, "Shut up, ho." Some girl from my high school Drake, but sadly I got no details on that. Your ex YG. Matt Heafy from Trivium shook my hand for like 2 minutes straight while thanking me for my military service. Then noticed I had his band's logo tattooed on my chest, and pulled my tank top to the side to see it better. He saw my nipple. I'm a guy. I still think about it. Not a band. But an old coworker of mine did it with Shel Silverstein. She used to work as a bank teller and he used to come in to deposit his royalty checks, then walk home with his guitar slung over his back. One day after work she saw him walking in the rain, so she gave him a ride back to his houseboat. Whereupon one thing led to another. She said the sex was terrible and he let out this high keening yell at the end, which really embarrassed her because she knew the neighbors could hear him. Not much of story. But it's like the closest thing to me actually meeting a celebrity. Oh. And I saw Bob Dole in an airport once. My wife's grandma was a groupie for a traveling Sioux band. She won't tell us anything about the guy, but he got her pregnant and that is how my father-in-law was conceived. Groupie for a traveling Sioux band. This is the most old lady story ever. Almost positive if you're a celeb on Reddit you definitely clicked on this post. I know I did. Phew. Nobody's had sex with me. My sister screwed Tim Lambesis of As I Lay Dying maybe about 8 years ago when they came to Australia. I think he ended up really liking her and would send her messages on Facebook all the time. A little while later and a friend sent us an article that he was getting thrown in jail for attempted murder of his wife. Yes, he was married with kids when they boned, and yes, he is supposedly a devout Christian. She felt partially responsible for a little while, but I think he probably slept with girls everywhere he went. Firstly, I've never been a groupie nor done it with celebrities, but I did security work for some concerts a while back. One I remember fondly was when me and a couple other security guys were guarding CeeLo Green's bus. So while there we see him go in with a bunch of groupies in some revealing clothing. So the other guys start pointing that out, making crude jokes about CeeLo getting some action. 5 minutes later the gals come out of the bus with puppies. No joke. They literally came out with puppies and went back to the venue. Not exactly what you asked for, but a friend of a friend slept with Calvin Harris and later got a dick pic. Dude is huge. And we found out which account belongs to Calvin Harris.